Hi everybody, it's Megan Malden, your Saline County 4-H agent, and I'm excited to be here today to kick off our first week of Wondrous Wednesdays for 2021. This week's topic is going to be covering money matters, and I just want to point out really quick that since this is a virtual format, it's going to cover all age groups for 4-H. So it's going to start all the way down at the 5-year-olds, the clover buds, and we're going to gradually increase the difficulty of our content that we're talking about till we get up to our 4-H seniors, which are 14 to 19-year-olds. So as we go through the video, if you kind of pay attention to the bottom right, there'll be these little colored circles down in the bottom right, and that'll tell you sort of where we are in the difficulty. So if it says 5+ in that yellow circle down the bottom, that means that we're still at the beginner level. That's going to be really easy for your clover buds to understand. As we go on, the circle in the bottom is going to change. It's going to be blue and it's going to say 9+. So that's going to mean that this content's a little bit more challenging, that it's really geared for juniors and older, which is your ages 9 to 19. And then once we get to the very highest difficulty, it's going to say 14+ down there in the bottom. And that's going to mean that content is best suited for seniors. So you can hang in for as long as you want to, but just in case it starts to get harder, you'll understand why that is, that it is gradually building in difficulty. Either way, you want to make sure you check out the very end of the video, because that's where we're going to have our weekly challenges. There'll be 3 challenges, one for each age level. So there'll be 1 challenge for clover buds, 1 challenge for juniors, and 1 challenge for seniors. And you guys get 1 week to complete your challenge. It has to be turned into me on June 15th. And if you complete your challenge, it gives you a chance for your name to go into a raffle to win a $20 gift card next week. So you want to make sure you hang in for the end of the video and complete that challenge. Don't miss out on that. So now that we've kind of explained how things are going to work for this virtual session, let's go ahead and get started. So the first thing we're going to talk about is our needs versus our wants. And we go to the grocery store a lot of times and we'll point to something and we'll say, oh, I need that, or oh, I want that. But what does that actually mean when we say we need something or we want something? Well, first of all, a need is something that's essential, whereas a want is something that's just desired. And our wants can make us really happy, but they're not physically or mentally necessary, whereas our needs are important to our mental and physical wellness. Some examples of needs would be things like paying your rent, having electricity, food, medicine, whereas a want could be something like a cup of coffee, or that brand new t-shirt, or an expensive car or video game. Another way that we can think of needs is we can call them our bare necessities of life. As humans, we need shelter, food, water, and clothing in order to survive, and in modern society our needs can even include things that maybe weren't considered essential a long time ago, such as transportation, childcare, our health care and our medicine, and our utilities such as water and electricity. After we've taken care of our needs, we can start thinking about saving and investing. You might hear people say, pay yourself first, but what does that actually mean? Paying yourself first just means putting some money aside in a savings account that is for you. It's important to have both a personal savings account, and this can be used for our goals and our wants, such as saving up for a new bike or saving up for a vacation. And then we also want to have a rainy day savings fund, and this is for emergencies. Some examples of an emergency might be if your car breaks down and you need to get it fixed, or if you get sick and you have to take a couple months away from work. Having that rainy day savings fund just gives you a little bit of a nest egg so you can rest easy in case you fall upon hard times. It's perfectly normal and okay for us to have wants. In fact, that's one of the main goals of acquiring wealth, is so we can enjoy our wants and we can have some little luxuries in life and we can have fun and enjoy ourselves. But before we can play hard, we have to work hard, and we just have to make sure that we're budgeting properly for those wants. One way that we can save up for our wants is by creating SMART goals. SMART goals are goals that are specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, and time-bound. And I'll explain what each of those mean. Specific just means that we want to stay away from broad and vague ideas and we want to make a specific goal. What exactly is it that we want to purchase? Measurable is similar to a specific, except it involves sort of numbers and dollar amounts. How much is the thing that you're going to buy going to cost? How many months do you think it'll take for you to reach that goal? Attainable means that this goal is something that you have the skills and the resources to accomplish, or you have a way to develop and obtain those skills to help you get there. Realistic just means the goal is realistic. It's great to shoot for the moon, but is it physically and financially possible for you to reach your goal given the income that is available to you and the time frame that you have to purchase it? Speaking of timely, the last part of a SMART goal is that it's time-bound, and this just means that we are setting deadlines to reach our goal so that we know what actions we can take today and what steps we need to take along the way in order to get there on time. Another way that we can think about SMART goals is to imagine that we're standing in front of a brick wall and somebody hands us 3 darts and they tell us to take the first dart and throw it at the wall. So we throw that dart at the wall and it hits. And the person tells us, "Congratulations, you hit the wall, but you didn't hit the mark." So then they go up to the wall and they draw a big circle on the wall. Now they tell us, "Throw the dart and this time land inside of the circle." So we take aim, we throw our second dart, and it hits inside of the circle, and the person tells us, "Congratulations, you made the dart inside of the circle, but you still didn't hit the mark." So this time they go in and they fill in that circle, and now we've got a bullseye that's on this wall. They tell us to take our third and final dart and throw it and try to hit the bullseye of the target. So this time we draw our hand back, we've got our dart, we take aim, we finally throw it at that bullseye, and boom, we hit it right on the money, crowd goes wild, awesome. But the thing is, until we had that SMART goal, until we had that specific mark that we knew that we were supposed to be aiming at, it was really hard for us to actually hit the bullseye. We can think of SMART goals this way. If we just have vague goals, it's like throwing darts at a wall. We may be hitting the wall, but we're not hitting exactly where we want to be. By setting goals that are SMART, specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, and time-bound, it gives us a better idea of where we need to be aiming so that we hit the bullseye every time. Setting SMART financial goals is like planning a destination for travel. Your personal financial plan is going to be like the itinerary that you develop to help you achieve your destination or your financial goals. The first step that you want to take when setting a financial goal is to figure out how much your goal is going to cost. Next, you need to determine, when do you want to make the purchase? How many months or years is it going to take for you to get to the goal? And then finally, you're going to take that total cost that you figured out in step 1 and divide it by the number of months to determine how much you need to save each month in order to reach your goal on time. Now let's take a look at a real life example. Let's say that you want to buy a 54-inch smart TV. The cost of that TV is $1,500 and you'd like to make your purchase a year from now. How much do you need to save each month in order to meet your goal? Well, let's go through those 3 steps. First of all, the cost of your TV, we've already said, is $1,500. Now we got to determine how many months until we make that purchase. You said that you want to make it a year from now, so that would be 12 months until we need to buy our TV. So we're going to take that total cost of the TV, which is $1,500, and divide it by the 12 months. That tells us that we need to save $125 per month in order to buy our TV in 1 year.
By using these steps to set our financial goals, it also helps us make sure that we're using SMART goals. In this particular scenario, our goal was specific because we said the exact size of the TV we wanted to buy. It was a 54-inch, and we also said that it was going to be a smart TV, so we had this specific type of TV. Our goal was measurable because we had the exact price, which was $1,500. Our goal is attainable because we know that this 54-inch smart TV is available and we would be able to find it at Walmart or Best Buy or wherever it is we want to purchase it. Our goal is also realistic because the price of $1,500 and the time frame of 12 months gives us a realistic savings of only $125 a month. Our goal is also time-bound because we said that it was going to be based on 1 year. We know that we have 12 months to save up for our goal. When setting SMART goals, it's still important to remember back to our basics. We need to be sure that we're accounting for all of our fixed and variable expenses in the needs category before we move on to our wants. It's really important that we're regularly putting money into both a personal and an emergency savings account and not just spending all of the extra money that we have each month. Remember that savings are an investment in your future. One part of a SMART goal is that it has to be realistic. If we say that we need to have a monthly savings of $125 to reach our goal and we don't actually have any income, then that makes that goal not very realistic because we don't actually have the money coming in order for us to save money. Let's take a moment to define 3 common types of work that people do and explore whether or not those work options are profitable. Of course, usually when we think about work, we think about people having a job. And a job is a specific arrangement where you do tasks for an employer. The arrangement may specify that your employer is going to give you certain benefits, that you're going to work a designated number of hours, and that you're going to have a specific salary or hourly wage for those hours. Meanwhile, a gig is a different type of work. A gig is usually a single project or task for which you're working for someone on demand. That person is not an employer of yours, and even though you may agree to a price up front, there's usually not a long-term contract in place. Meanwhile, a hobby is an activity that's done by somebody regularly, and it's done in one's leisure time for pleasure, and it's usually not considered profitable. With that being said, did you know that many hobbies or other activities such as your 4-H projects can actually turn into profitable gigs? Here are a few hobbies that you can turn into a profit. If you like being around animals, you can make money by being a pet sitter or a dog walker. There's also babysitting, which is a great way to make some extra money, and it also can help out your parents or some close relatives who need childcare anyway so that they can go to work. If you enjoy taking photos, try selling your services as an amateur photographer. If you have a green thumb and enjoy being outside, many people will pay for gardening and lawn care services, especially during the spring and summer months. Carpentry is also a very highly marketable skill, and if you already own your own tools, it gives you a lot of flexibility and creativity with the types of projects that you take on. A 4-H livestock project can also be very profitable, especially if you're very good at your budgeting and your planning. When turning a hobby into a gig, budgeting and planning is very important. Some things to consider are your expenses and your income. Whenever you work a job for an employer, typically your employer is the only one who has to worry about the expenses. You just have to show up and provide the labor, and then you take home your check at the end of the week or the end of the month. That's not the same whenever you're doing a hobby or a gig. A lot of times you're the one who has to pay the expenses up front, and you need to plan ahead to determine whether or not you're going to make back the money from those expenses, and then if you're going to make additional income afterwards in order to make it worth your time. Not every hobby is going to be profitable, so do this research beforehand so that you don't set yourself up for disappointment. Whenever you are able to turn your hobby into a profitable gig through proper planning and budgeting, it can be extremely fulfilling and rewarding. Not only are you getting to make money at something that you already love and enjoy doing, but you also have the flexibility to set your own hours and the creativity and freedom to take on the types of projects that you feel like doing. There's definitely an unmatched sense of pride and accomplishment whenever you're able to become a successful entrepreneur. Regardless of where you are in life and how much money you're making, it's important to understand debt. Even when we're paying for only our essential needs, we have to be mindful that we're not accruing unnecessary debt to pay for those needs. Debt can rob us of our future decisions, and it also impacts our financial freedom. Before we dive in too much deeper, let's just take a look at a few of the key terms that are often used when we're talking about debt. The first one, of course, is just debt itself. What is debt? Debt is the money that you owe someone or something. Interest is the cost of borrowing money. Of course, interest accrues over the lifetime of a loan. Principal is the amount of money that's owed on a loan, not including the interest. So when you take out a loan, you have the principal amount that you're paying, and then you also have the interest that you pay on top of the principal. When we purchase items, they can both appreciate or depreciate in value, which means they increase or lose their value over time. When we talk about a loan, often you have a loan term, and this is the amount of time that a lender gives you to pay off that loan in full. Loan terms can vary pretty drastically. You can have very short loans that are only 6 months all the way up to a 30-year fixed mortgage, and that's your loan term, how long you have to pay that loan back. Sometimes a loan arrangement allows you to delay the start of payment, and that's what's known as a deferred payment. This is really common with student loans, or sometimes people can request a deferred payment whenever they've fallen on hard times and they reach out to their lender and ask if they can have a few months before they start making payments again. One of the first steps to understanding debt is understanding whether or not the things we buy are going to appreciate or depreciate in value. We want to make an effort to invest the most money in things that are going to appreciate or increase in value over time, and less money in the things that are going to depreciate or lose value over time. Some examples of things that depreciate in value very quickly are vehicles, electronics, furniture, and clothing. You may have heard it said before that a car, the moment you drive it off the lot, it's worth less than it was when you bought it brand new a couple seconds ago. And that's true. The moment you drive it away, it begins depreciating in value. Clothing is another one. It's really common, girls and ladies, for us to dream about our wedding dress one day. And a lot of times we spend a lot of money on this wedding dress, but the moment that we buy that wedding dress and we put it on, it's going to depreciate in value. So even if you ever want to resell it one day, it's not likely that you're going to get back nearly as much as what you paid for it. So that's something to think about whenever we make these purchases and when we're determining how much money we want to spend on these purchases. Opposite of this, some things that are considered to appreciate in value are the money that you spend on education, your real estate, stocks and bonds, or jewelry such as gold, silver, and gemstones historically have appreciated in value over time. And even though these are really large purchases, especially education and real estate, and even though there is always risk involved with any sort of financing or investment, these traditionally are seen as the things that you can feel safer about investing your money in financing, because they do tend to appreciate in value over time. Two of the biggest things that impact the amount of money that you'll spend over the lifetime of a loan are the principal amount of the loan, which is the amount that you finance initially, and then the interest rate that you get on that loan. Here in Arkansas, the average price for in-state tuition at an Arkansas college is $4,789 per semester. The average federal student loan interest rate is 5.8%. Meanwhile, data taken from Zillow shows that the median home price in Arkansas is $145,000, and the average interest rate on a 30-year fixed mortgage in Arkansas is currently 3.1%. National data shows that the average price that consumers spend on auto loans is $40,000. Granted, that is a little bit more than I spent on my car, but that is the national average for auto loans. The average interest rate for an auto loan is currently 5.3%. When we talk about interest rates, there's a couple different kinds of interest rates. You can either have what's known as a fixed interest rate or a variable interest rate. And in this graph from Freddie Mac, which shows average mortgage interest rates over the last several decades in the United States, we can see examples of both. The 30-year fixed rate mortgage and the 15-year fixed rate mortgage are both examples of a fixed interest rate, whereas the 5/1 adjustable rate mortgage on this graph is an example of a variable interest rate. With a 5/1 adjustable rate mortgage, it has a fixed rate for the first 5 years of the loan, and then it's going to adjust up or down once per year based on the movement of the market. As you can see, over the last several decades, there's kind of been a trend where interest rates have been going down in the United States, and right now we're actually at a historical low for interest rates. So it's always a big decision when deciding what kind of interest rate is best for you, but right now when we're at a historical low, this might be a time where somebody wants to lock in a fixed rate so that they can be sure that for the life of their loan, they've locked in a really low interest rate. And when they do that, they're making the assumption that over time interest rates aren't going to get any lower than what they are now. There are a few things that impact how much interest you'll pay over time on a loan. One of those things, of course, is your credit score. Lenders use your credit score to determine how likely you are as a borrower to repay the borrowed money on time, or how much of a risk you are as a borrower. A credit score ranges from 300 all the way up to 850, with scores of 700 being considered a good score. The higher your credit score is, the lower interest rate you can expect to get on borrowed money. Some ways that you can establish strong credit and therefore get lower interest rates on your loans is by paying your bills on time and by maintaining low balances on any credit cards or lines of credit that you may have. A down payment is another way that you can influence how much interest you pay over time. A down payment is the money that you pay up front on a large purchase before you begin financing the rest of the loan. Large down payments can reduce your overall interest charges and lower your monthly payments by paying off a large portion of the principal balance up front. By regularly contributing to a savings account, you can save up larger down payments before you ever walk in the doors to make a big purchase. Your loan term determines how long you have to repay the loan's principal and interest to the lender. The loans that have the shortest terms also tend to have the lowest interest rates, and you also make fewer interest payments over time because you're making fewer loan payments over time. In order to save the most money, you should choose the shortest loan term, and you should also make additional payments to your principal every month whenever it's possible for you to do so. Some loans, such as student loans, come with the option for you to defer payment. But the longer that you defer a payment or delay a payment, the more interest that your loan is going to accrue. For example, unsubsidized student loans don't require you to make payments on the loan while you're in school, but they're still collecting interest that entire time that you're in school and not making payments. Rather than deferring repayment until after school, it's best to begin making small payments or full payments as soon as you possibly can, even if that means having a job or doing work study while you're in school. This is going to impact and drastically reduce the amount of interest that you're going to pay on that loan in the long term.
One part of being a responsible consumer means that we have to make smart financial decisions, and we have to use all the tools that are at our disposal whenever we make these financial decisions. Whenever you're going to make a big purchase, explore what resources are out there and available to you that may help reduce your overall costs. For example, let's look at the cost of funding a 4-year college education. In the United States, over 44 million Americans have some form of student loan debt, totaling over $1.71 trillion in total U.S. loan debt. Some of the resources that you could reach for if you don't want to take on too much debt for a college education is you can seek out scholarships and grants. You should complete your free application for federal student aid, otherwise known as your FAFSA, every year. Your FAFSA helps make you eligible for certain Pell Grants, student loans, scholarships, and work study. Speaking of work study, another way to help pay for school and take on less debt is to apply for work study positions on campus, or you can look for employers outside of campus that'll be flexible with your school schedule. Working through college and paying your tuition as you go is one way to avoid paying too much for school over time because you don't have the costly interest rate that's associated with student loans. If you do have to take on student loans in order to complete your college education, seek out government programs or even employers who offer loan repayment as a job benefit to their employees. This is something that can help you after college when you're looking for full-time employment. As a final thought, plan ahead and save in order to avoid debt. Whenever it is necessary in life to take on some debt, make sure you're paying it off as quickly as possible in order to spend the least amount of money that you have to over the lifetime of the loan. Alright, now it's time to talk about our Wondrous Wednesday weekly challenges. For those of you who've never participated in Wondrous Wednesdays before, let me explain how the challenges are done each week. Challenges will be offered to Clover Buds, juniors, and seniors. You have to complete the challenge that is listed for your age group, and you have 1 week to complete it. Complete the challenge and email me proof that you've completed the challenge within 1 week, and you'll be eligible to win a prize. Your name will get entered into a raffle, and during next week's Wondrous Wednesday, we'll draw one name out of the raffle, and that person will win a $20 gift card. This is your chance to show off what you've learned and win some cool prizes. Now, this week, all of the challenge materials and worksheets that you need to complete your challenge will be listed below the video. If you're watching on Facebook, look in the comments section directly below this video, and if you're watching on YouTube, look down below for the notes underneath the YouTube video. Clover Buds this week will need to complete the Wants and Needs worksheet. Juniors are going to complete the Hobbies to Gigs worksheet, and seniors will complete the Vehicle Shopping Challenge and the Student Loan Challenge. Let's go into a little bit more detail about each of the challenges. The Clover Bud Challenge this week is the Wants and Needs worksheet that's shown above. When you complete this worksheet, be sure to email it to mmalden@uada.edu by Tuesday, June 15th for your name to be entered in a raffle and a chance to win the prize. For this worksheet, Clover Buds are going to cut out the pictures of wants and needs, and they're going to arrange them either next to the gift or next to the picture of the house, depending on whether or not they think that item is a want or a need. Next up is this week's Junior Challenge. Juniors are going to complete the Hobbies to Gigs worksheet that's shown here, and they'll email their finished worksheet to mmalden@uada.edu by Tuesday, June 15th. This worksheet asks them to list some of their hobbies and favorite activities, and then to determine what relative skills are used with that hobby, whether or not they think it's a potential profitable gig, and if so, what sort of gig it would be. For example, if they like gardening, they may say that the type of gig that they would do is landscaping or lawn service. Last is our senior challenges. Reminder that seniors in 4-H are ages 14 to 19, and seniors are going to complete the vehicle shopping and the student loan challenge worksheets that are shown here. They'll email those finished worksheets to mmalden@uada.edu by Tuesday, June 15th. In these two worksheets, seniors are going to explore a couple of hypothetical scenarios. One is a vehicle shopping scenario, and the other one's a student loan scenario. In both of them, they will learn how down payments sort of impact the overall monthly payments or your total interest rate of a loan. You'll explore how your interest rate impacts how much you pay over the lifetime of a loan, as well as your loan terms, whether it's a 60-month or a 10-year loan, etc. This concludes our Money Matters Wondrous Wednesday. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. Next week, we are going to be in person at the Saline County Extension Office. Our Wondrous Wednesday topic is going to be the joy of painting. That workshop is going to be on June 16th from 9 a.m. to 12 p.m. If you'd like to register for that, please do so by this Friday, June 11th, and the registration fee is $5 per person. If you have any questions or need to register, you can contact me. I'm Megan Malden, your Saline County 4-H agent.